Front Row MMA, we're here with Fight UK's new managing director, Ian Cox, and Ian, it's fair to say that your involvement in MMA, well, it goes back a long, long way, but you started, I believe, with Judo, and you know, when did that start? How did that happen?
I started Judo when I was 5. It's sort of something I've always done since I can remember, to be fair. Like a lot of kids, sort of, we used to go once, twice a week, have a bit of a giggle with it till I got to 9, 10 years old. I started competing, and it just sort of went from there, really. Was
that a parental choice, or was it something I'd like to try Judo? Why Judo? Why not boxing, or in Britain?
Bit of both, really. My dad used to do Judo when he was sort of younger, and one of the lads that I used to knock about with when I was a kid who lived over the back of me, he went, so I kind of started going with him, and it sort of, again, it just sort of snowballed from there, really.
And so you're 9 or 10, and now you're starting to compete, so you're starting to take it a little seriously. How far did you take it?
We went from the age of sort of 11 onwards. I started competing internationally. That carried on till I was 21 when I finished competing. So I went through the ranks with the BJC, then I changed to BJ when I got to 14 years old. Worked my way up through the cadets and then through the junior ranks of that, which is like their under 21s. Fought all over Europe, fought all over the States. Then stopped competing when I was about 21, really.
Was there ever the ambition to take that Judo perhaps one step? Were you always like trying for the Olympics or the Commonwealth Games? Like, how did that?
Yeah, it got to that sort of stage when I was that sort of age. It was from when I left school. That's what I wanted to do. It was Judo. I was going to I trained full time, and obviously we were aiming for the Olympics, Worlds, Commonwealths, Europeans, etc., etc. I got to that sort of stage when I was sort of 20, 21, which is really where it kind of, you either go or you don't. Met women, had kids, all went wrong. Job done.
Damn those women, they always get in the way. Sorry, babe. So where did the transition to, because I know you competed MMA, I know you had, and you're now working with Fight UK, but where did that sort of transition happen? Where did you move from Judo into climbing into a cage for the first time?
I think it was 2000, 2001. Again, just before I finished, I'd knocked the Judo on the head a little bit. I started training at the time with the guys who are now running Leicester Shoot Fighters. There was literally 4 or 5 of us. We used to roll around a mat in a little sports centre. Going back, to that sort of period, there was really only a couple of shows knocking about.
Well, yeah, this is before MMA was sort of on vogue in the UK. How did you discover it? Was it just because of these lads?
What it was, I think one of the lads at Judo got some, because we used to go to the States and train and whatever. One of them got some really old UFC tapes, like UFC 1 and 2. And I watched it, I thought, this is fantastic. People sort of know that, I've been partial to a bit of scrapping before in the past. So it was a bit of a natural progression, really. Just, I like to fight, simple as that. So I got on the internet. There used to be a forum, SF UK. It was just a matter of sort of chatting to people on there. So I hooked up with these guys in Leicester. Trained for about 2 weeks, and I decided to have a fight. I decided to offer Danny Batten out, which was, it was fun.
And what was it about? What was it about competing in the cage? Because we've seen you. We know you competed for and with Fight UK, and you probably landed one of the sickest knockouts we've ever seen. I mean, you've given a fighter a nickname, Predator Jaw. I mean, so you have competed in the cage. What was it about? What was it about the sport that was so appealing?
Again, I just didn't. I mean, like I said, obviously with the background in Judo, I mean, my style of Judo, which anybody who used to compete against me will tell you, I was never sort of traditional, overly technical. I used to like getting in and having a scrap, and there's been lots of broken arms and lots of unconscious people on a Judo mat for many, many years. And it was just it went with my sort of style. Do you know what I mean? It intrigued me because it was just that I could combine my grappling with like an aggressive form of grappling, obviously along with punching people in the face, which I found fun.
And again, you competed with Fight UK a number of times. I think the last fight you had in a cage, and I'll get smacked for not doing my research, I think it was Vaughan.
Yep.
At Fight UK 5, I think, something like that in the nightclub. Why have you stepped back from competing, and why have you decided that you want to get involved with a promotion from another perspective?
Well, a couple of months before I fought Vaughan, I had a complete reconstruction on my eye socket because I had an orbital blowout that happened in training. Realistically, I shouldn't have been fighting when I did, but again, I've never been sort of one to back off from a fight, and somebody says they're going to have a fight, well, we'll have it. Yeah, it was just that sort of, after the Vaughan fight, I think I'd had a few sort of disappointing things. I'd turned up, I'd turned up at a show in Blackpool, which was supposedly for a British title fight. The opponent didn't turn up. Then I started having opponents pulling out, and it was just that thing. Obviously, I only stepped back into MMA in sort of 2007, 2008, just because I was getting on a bit. Obviously, I'd not competed for 7-8 years. I just thought, well, getting on a bit for a fighter, yeah. Not competing for 7-8 years. I just wanted to see if I could get back in, do it. I've had a couple of fights, prove that I could get myself back in shape, and I could still do it. Realistically, after the Vaughan fight, I went on holiday, sort of readdressed a few things, and it was time to either make a choice. It was either go back, because I don't do anything half-hearted. If I'm doing something, it's 100%, and that's how I've always been. That's why I stopped competing. Obviously, when I had kids, it was that sort of, I couldn't dedicate all my time to it, and it was the same sort of thing. I've been back training just over a year. I had a couple of fights. The bank balance was hitting the floor because obviously business was. I took a bit of a step back from business. I took a bit of a step back from sort of, my own work ethic, because I was concentrating on training, and it was that sort of thing. What do? Do I go back into it and sort of train full time, so I can carry on competing? But realistically, you got family, you've got responsibilities. It's just not feasible, and there's no point. I'm not the sort of person that could just go in and fight at a lower level and sort of just go in, train once, twice a week and go and fight. Tom, Dick and Harry from down the road. It's just not. It's not me. If I'm going to fight, I want to be fighting, good people and be the best I can. Whereas I've not got time to dedicate to my training, as well as running the businesses, etc., etc. So it made sense to sort of take a step back and concentrate on that, really.
Before we talk about your involvement with Fight UK, I think, as well as punching people in the face and getting punched in the face, there's a pretty keen business mind standing in front of me. You've worked CSS for a good few years. It's really starting to take off. Where did that interest come from? If you like scrapping on the street, some people are going to find it a pretty hard place to, well, how does that translate to having good business acumen? But you obviously do.
Again, I started doing the doors 15 years back. Again, it went hand in hand because I was training full time in my judo. I was doing a lot of coaching, but it was a bit of extra money at the weekends. I used to train with a lot of the doormen, like local doormen that used to run sort of classes, and they used to have lots of animal days that they were called back back then. Yeah. So again, it was just a case. I was 15. I knew a lot of the lads because obviously we used to go down scrapping in the clubs and whatever when we was kids. I sort of got invited along to the doorman's training sessions that they were having at the time. Obviously, because of I was at quite a high level at judo at that sort of time. I was out grappling sort of 18, 19 stone lads. Because a lot of them were doing bits and bobs of judo, but obviously they weren't sort of anywhere near the level that I was at. So that sort of went from there. Ended up doing a few nights here and there on the door. Meant to be a little bit of pocket money. Obviously, 15 years later, we're still there. But that was it really. It progressed to as I sort of got older. People were sort of asking me to supply certain places with door staff. Can you come and look after this place? Can you look after that place? And it's just sort of grown from there really. And then once the security started taking off, it was just a natural progression really. Then over the last few years to sort of make it as a a proper company rather than just sort of doing what we were doing before back how it was. It's all now. It's legit. It's above board. It's all sort of we're trying to push it in different directions, trying to diversify not just with the security, but with looking at sort of how the economy is at the minute. It's crap. Everybody knows that. People aren't going out as much as they used to. So I thought, well, what do we do? Do we try and take a bigger area? I mean, as it is, we've got 120 door staff work for us on a regular basis. Or do we sort of diversify and start trying to supply different things, which is what we've done. Obviously, we like facilities management type stuff with a pest control, with a we've got a cleaning company now. So again, that was it basically.
Did you surprise yourself with that though? I mean, I know Clayton's told me that one of your fondest memories, one of his fondest memories of something you did on Facebook, so you put a picture of your car up at school, and this is this for the bastard who told me I'd never get anywhere. Did you surprise yourself, or did you know that you were the sort of person that had a mind that could sort of take something like a security company and branch it out? Where did that come from?
I suppose, at school, I mean, I got good grades at school. I didn't like school. I left when I was 16. I surprised a lot of my teachers with the grades I got, but that's just, I've always been like that. You can put something in front of me, and I don't have to work for years and years and years like all the other kids are, working the bollocks off through lessons, doing this, that, I took no notice half the time, went into the exams and did all right. Do you know what I mean? It's that sort of, it's mainly common sense. That's what it is. I think a lot of it came from sort of competing as well. The whole nerve. I've got mates at school that were really, really clever and completely fucked their exams up because nerves or whatever it may be. Whereas, with myself, it's just that sort of. I don't really get nervous with things. You learn to. I think anybody who competes for a long time in, whether it be in MMA or judo or athletics or whatever they're doing, I think you learn to sort of control that. Which I think's helped me a lot through life in general, to be fair, and in business. People make rash decisions. People when you get on top and you got all these bills to pay and you got no money in the bank, people panic and they either fold it or they disappear or they make wrong decisions. Where it is what it is, isn't it? You've just got to keep your head slightly level and try and do what you can.
I'm just wondering if Alan Sugar sounded like this at one point. Down on the dogs, gotten a few scraps, sold some stuff. Look, you're now involved with Fight UK, and again, people have accused me of being a suck ass before, and they're going to again now. But I think it's fair to say that certainly in the Midlands, certainly Central England, there's not many better amateur events or better events than Fight UK. How did you get involved with them?
Obviously, I've been involved with Fight UK since day one, from like the security aspect. Again, Alistair obviously started it. He was a year above me at school. I've known him for. He wasn't a close friend or anything, but I know him and we know each other. He basically just messaged me one day, sort of saying, "I'm doing an MMA show. I know you've done a bit before. Can you help me? Can you do the security?" And I was a bit taken back, because obviously I didn't know he was. Obviously, I'd been away from MMA at this time for probably 6-7 years. Hadn't really had anything to do with it, apart from obviously going to watch Jimmy and people like that, and sort of didn't really know much about what had happened. And obviously, it had taken off a lot since when I competed on like Millennium Brawl and stuff down at Lee Asdale's events and stuff back in the day. So yeah, it was just a case of sort of obviously we came on board to do the security, because obviously that's one of the things we do is we do a lot of the boxing shows. We now do a lot of the MMA shows across the country, not just across Midlands. We go north, south, east, west, because that's what we can ssort of specialise in it because of our background in the sport. It makes it a lot easier to run the security for the shows when you do that, and the camps, a lot of the fighters, a lot of the fans know you, because it's still a relatively small circuit. So with regards to Fight UK, we came on board, obviously did the security for Fight UK 1. I got the buzz back a bit, as you do. Yes, I've been away from a bit, and then Alistair was, why don't you get in, have a go? And it was that kind of, because I got back. Obviously, I speak to Jimmy a lot, and I started going back training a little bit, because I've been away for quite a long time. Got a bit fat, as you do. No comment. But so yeah, that was it then. Basically, it was we did the security for the first couple. Obviously, I fought on a couple of them since I fought on 3 Fight UKs, and then after obviously the Vaughan fight, when I'd sort of decided, well, I'm going to take a step back because obviously because of my eye and finances. It was just a sort of natural progression that Fight UK were looking for, or Alistair and Dave were sort of looking for somebody to give them a bit of a new direction, a bit of a push, bring some fresh ideas on board, and that's what we've done. So
you've joined up with Ali and Dave, and so what is it that you're going to bring to the table? What is it that Ian Cox is going to do that Fight UK need to do?
a lot of it was more sort of business orientated rather than, I mean, obviously they've got a fantastic show. Fight UK, everybody you speak to sort of loves fighting on Fight UK. You're going to watch it because the production's put on really, really well. The main sort of thing was the going forwards, some new fresh ideas. Obviously the sort of the back office stuff, which obviously we've got all set up. We've just got a new 2,500 square foot head office for CSS, and obviously now Fight UK, with full-time admin staff, which is something they've not had before. It's obviously it's been run out of whoever's front room or whatever. It's just about sort of professionalising it a bit more. It's kind of dropped off a little bit sort of last year. Obviously the amount of shows, and I think it's just the fact that basically the guys involved in running it, they've both got full-time day jobs. It's hard, people don't see that, people sort of think, oh yeah, they run Fight UK. They don't, well they do, but they do it in, till 11, 12 o'clock at night, early mornings, weekends, which, it can almost, it can hinder the sort of the progression because a lack of time, that's what it is. Obviously now we've got a full-time office. Obviously I'm at work 24 hours a day pretty much, so yeah, it's just that's what it is. It's the business side of things and no ideas.
And of course, coming with you, of course, with Fight UK staying at the Athena, and Sandeep has gotten involved as well. What's he doing for Fight UK in terms of, obviously it's his venue? Is he doing anything different now?
Yeah, I mean, Sandeep's been fantastic. He's obviously he's the owner of the Athena, where we have the main events. He's spending money on lighting, on basically making the production that for next year it's going to be phenomenal. I can't tell you how good it's going to, like the production side of it's going to be. The amateur shows, which, obviously you go to the big arena shows and stuff, they look fantastic when they're filmed. You don't see all the crap around the edges. It's the same with any sort of sport. It's, you can make things look really, really good on a camera, but we don't just want it to look good on a camera. We want it to look good when you're walking around, when you're sitting down, when you're standing up, when you're at the bar, whatever you may be doing. We want it to be that sort of, the production quality needs to be there. We want it to be entertainment for a night out, not just going to watch your mate who's doing MMA. We want it to be a night out for people, so that the general public will want to get involved and come and watch, regardless if they know anybody who's on the card or not. It's entertainment. That's what it is.
It's funny because Fight UK are going to go through a big transition. You've got November 16th. You got Fight UK 10. And I think it's fair to say that after November 16th, things will never be the same again, as it were. I'm not overstating it. We'll get there. Let's look at that November 16th card. Again, it's stacked from top to bottom. You got the main event. You've got Chris Maya and Josh Foster for the bantamweight. Shout at me for the bantamweight title. Flyweight, bantamweight. Oh, well, let's call it heavyweight, and we can just put him in with Ronnie Mann.
Just apologise for involving now.
Yeah, sorry, Graham. Ronnie. Yeah, the flyweight. They put on great shows. What is it about Fight UK 10 that you're looking forward to? Is there anything?
The whole show, to be fair, that's the good thing with Fight UK. The cards are always stacked. They're always entertaining. There's never, the matchmaking's come on so much since them first couple of shows that they did. Obviously Ali's now in charge of the matchmaking. Full stop. That's what Alistair does. The way he's progressed over the last couple of years, with sort of, how he's matching people up, where he's matching them up from. I mean, you saw in the last amateur show that amateur show was more entertaining than a lot of pro shows I've ever been to. It was, I don't think there was one dull fight, and that's what it is. I say same with the November card. Obviously, people like Craig's back on it. Yeah. That's going to bring a big buzz to the Athena, with him being local and popular lad. The whole show, I can't sort of single out one thing that I'm looking at. It's just going to be, I'm just looking forward to it, to be fair, for the whole event.
And this is the point at which, if you're an amateur fighter or a manager or a part of a camp, you want to pay close attention to this, because the figures that we're going to chuck around now are not to be believed. Fight UK is changing in 2014, going back to a more amateur-based route, but there's a difference. What's the difference?
There's a big difference. 2014, obviously, we want to concentrate on the amateur side of things. We're still going to have the pro guys that we bring up through the amateur ranks. The local guys, the sort of guys that have had a couple of fights that we're trying to bring on. But we are going to be concentrating on the big amateur platform. the format for 2014, again, we sort of looked around and everybody does the same thing. With regards to an MMA show, everybody does the same thing. They open the doors, you have an undercard, you have your couple of main, you have probably a load of stupid intervals, which everybody gets pissed off at. Then you have your main card, they might go and get a couple of drinks at the bar and then they go home. That's how an MMA show is run. So we thought, right, okay, we're putting these fantastic cards together, so we can't really improve on the quality of the fighters that we're putting on because they're fantastic. So what can we do? Let's change the format of the show. So what we're doing is obviously we're still having an undercard, which is obviously mainly amateur based, a couple of pro fights, and then an 8-man tournament for each weight group at the end. Is like the main event for each show. Obviously the big sort of difference between us and other people is we're putting up a £3 prize pot for each weight group. So there's going to be 8 guys in a tournament. They have the same fight, or they have 3 fights in one. To get to the final, they're having 3 fights in one night. Yep. Which again is slightly different to a lot of people who run tournaments. They'll have, you know, the first round and then a couple of months later they'll have the second and the third. It's going back to sort of like martial arts roots. You know, you go back any sort of, you go back 10, 15, 20, 50 years to any sort of judo, karate competition, anything like that, any of the traditional stuff. It was all the tournament format. So why not do it for MMA? There's no reason why you can't. There has been shows in the past that have done it, and I think they're really, really entertaining. You know, there's been shows over in Holland. There's been a couple in the UK.
Yeah, the one that Martin Stapleton and Andre Winner and Tommy Miller, Tommy Maguire were all involved in. It is not something that's unheard of. No. Just, I'm sorry, how much for the amateurs?
£3,000.
£3,000.
£3,000.
Now that's something, dude.
It is. It's basically, if you win one of those tournaments, you'll be walking away with a £2,000.
Why did you go? You know, you can get amateurs to fight for, you know, ticket money. Of course, and good ones.
You can, yeah, you can. I mean,
why did you guys want to offer it?
The thing is, I think with the amateurs, that's, you know, my personal opinion is people turn pro far too quickly. And sort of talking to people, it's because of the money. That's why they're going to get a purse. Now, if obviously what we're doing is we're going to get, you're never going to get the 8 top guys in the country, no. But you can get 8 of the top 12 guys, 13 guys, you know, due to timings for whatever. That's what we're doing on a sort of invite only. That's what we're looking for, the cream of the crop of the amateurs. They'll get invited into the tournament, and it gives them a platform to work on. You know, it's sort of, if they can win that and take $2,000, that's more than they'd take in ticket money doing however many shows. You know what I mean? It's that sort of, it gives them something. Is
it also fair to say that the once if they win a tournament, then they're going to go on in a subsequent card to face whoever the belt holder is at that point?
Yep. If they win the tournament and they're obviously not the current belt holder, on the November show, which we're still going to run as we do, is like the main end of year spectacle. The card for the November show is going to be pretty much all title fights. Simple as that. You know, so if the welterweights, whoever wins the welterweight will go on to face on the November card the current welterweight champ for the belt. If the guy that wins the tournament is already the current welterweight champ, then obviously he's going to have to defend it against possibly, well, who knows, maybe the guy that he got in the final, somebody else from the tournament, somebody that deserves a shot. Basically, that's where we're heading.
That's amazing. I keep coming back to it because, again, I think, one, it's fantastic for the sport. I think it's going to make amateurs, it's going to make amateurs hungry. If they're not hungry already to be pro, this is going to make them hungry to train uber hard. It's $3,000 prize, $2,000 for the winner. How are you divvying up the rest?
Second place takes 500. The 2 runners up take 250. And obviously, if you lose your first fight, you walk away with nothing. Simple as.
I still think that's absolutely amazing. How are you, you know, again, we know that the UK have strong links with a lot of the Midlands gyms that are reputable. Are you guys actively looking out beyond the Midlands now? Are you going sort of Manchester, Sunderland? Are you going down south? Are you looking elsewhere?
Yeah, I mean, we've got links with obviously well, probably all of the top gyms in the Midlands, and again, it's like anything, it's a natural progression. We started looking up north, we started looking down south, we're watching, obviously, I mean, I deal with a lot of the shows anyway from a security point of view, so I'm always sort of wherever I am, and I get to see a lot of, you know, guys that you probably wouldn't see in the Midlands as such. So again, it's one of, or even camps that, you know, might not come to the Midlands shows, they might just stay down south or up north or wherever they are. And again, it's about sort of making them links with these camps, with these fighters, seeing who's up and coming. So, you know, every day now and then you do get somebody who just sticks out. You know, you can go to a show, you can see them once or twice and you think, fuck, yeah. Do you know what I mean? Even if they've only had 1 or 2 fights, you can just see where they're going. Yeah. So yeah, that's where it's at. It's just sort of, we're trying to scout it. Like I said, we want the cream of the crop. That's what we want when it comes to the amateurs.
See, we can cut this question out if you don't want to answer it, or if it's an inappropriate question to ask. But you know, is there any chance that Fight UK will actively go to other promotions and say, look, you know, you've got a champion, do you want to enter them into our tournament? You know, because it seems a way that you can bring all of amateur MMA together if the other promotions are willing. Is that something you would entertain?
Never say never. Again, you know, say what we're all about is making the amateur platform grow. Okay, obviously putting on the fantastic shows, putting on the great productions with the great prize money. We want to become you know, if we're not already the best amateur show in the country, that's plain and simple. With regards to sort of other, you know, shows, title holders, etc., etc. One, it depends on the show. There is other shows that we work closely with. We'll only ever work with very good shows. You know, none of these sort of tin pot ones that are knocking about. It'd be whatever and whoever. You know, yeah. There's no reason why we couldn't do that. It's just a sort of, obviously we have to look after our own guys first. The guys that have been with us for over the past shows and the gyms and things, we'll obviously be using them. But I think, again, once this first season, this first year gets over and people realise that, you know, these guys are real, this is what they're doing, yeah. I think people will come to us. It's as simple as that, because nobody else is offering amateurs what we're offering them. The backing's there, the money's there, so all the shows are booked, paid for. So there's none of that bollocks, sort of, oh yeah, we're doing all these shows and then, oh, we got the money to pay for the venue and so we'll cancel that and we'll do it another day.
Oh, sorry, I think we have a question from the back. Clayton wants to know if you're worried that other people are going to, you know, watch and see the first couple of shows, pray that you fall flat in your face and when you don't copy the idea.
Yeah, they will. It's as simple as that. You know, it's a great idea, it's a great format, but are they going to be able to implement it like we are? That's the thing. We've got the venue, we've got the people, we've got the gyms, we've got the fighters, we've got the know-how, and we've got the money. That's the big thing. A lot of people haven't. You know, you see it knocking around all the time. So I've seen so many shows offering X amount of £1,000 in prize money, and you know, you hear all these stories about nobody's getting paid, and it's not just small shows; it's big shows. It happens because they're trying to. Some shows try and make themselves too big. They're trying to. You know, they spend stupid amounts of money on stupid things. At the end of the day, you've got to look after the fighters. Without the fighters, you haven't got a show. So predominantly, they're the first people you look after. Then it's your customers, your paying punters. You've got to look after them. You've got to give them value for money, which is why we work so hard on the production side of things, rather than just chucking it in a room, putting a cage in the middle of it, and get on with it. It's worth spending that bit of extra money on the lights, on creating that atmosphere, so people want to come back. We want to take it mainstream, not just selling tickets to, fighters' mates that want to come and see it, or gyms or whatever it may be. We want to get the general public involved. We want to get which again, when they're fighting for a decent amount of money in the tournament format, it makes it a lot more interesting. Yeah. Again, there's a certain boxing promotion that did a similar thing, and it really did give British boxing a kick up the arse. Yeah. with regards to sort of viewer ratings and just general interest in in British boxing. It's because of the way it is with a tournament, people, they fight differently, if that makes sense. They've only got a very short amount of time to they've got to win that fight to get through to the next one. So what you usually find is that first round, they just come out swinging. There's no taking the time, like you would do in a normal fight, sort of weighing each other up. Literally, they come out swinging to knock this geezer out, because they don't want to be doing 3-4 rounds for 3 fights. They want to do one round, and then get into the final. So that's what it is.
Are you prepared for perhaps some of the inevitable criticism that'll come your way? And, you know, MMA purists, and I'm one, for example, would say, well, you know, the UFC started as a tournament. It's not a tournament anymore for a reason. What do you say to, what would you say to those people that are going to poo-poo the idea before they've even seen it?
I couldn't give a fuck, to be fair. Simple as that. You know, this is the whole thing. If that's what they want, fine, go to one of the other shows. It's not a problem. Obviously, we're still going to be running the shows with the undercards, and you know, we're still going to be doing the single fights. We're not changing. We're not trying to change the way MMA shows are run. We're not trying to say, oh, well, it should be a tournament. What we're doing is we're adding a spectacle to the end of a show as a main event. That's what we're doing. We're shaking things up. We're making it a bit more interesting. Plain and simple. I say, if people want to moan and whinge, then that's up to them. Do you know what I mean? I don't care. I can't. Fuck them.
That's just the question. Again, I had to ask because, you know, you look at Safe MMA, you look at sort of the bigger events, jumping on board with it now. Do you feel that in any way, shape, or form it will disadvantage a fighter having to fight 3 times in a night, or do you think, you know what, it's the way it used to be? It's also how most combat sports go. Get on with it.
I think it's not going to disadvantage anybody. It's going to be hard. I'm not going to, you know, but again, that all adds to the excitement. It's sort of, obviously, you know, we've got the medics there, we've got the doctors there. If somebody's not fit to carry on, they're not fit to carry on. If they come out of the first fight or the second fight, regardless of win, lose or draw, if they're not medically fit to fight again, then they won't be fighting again. It's as simple as that. Because obviously we take, like I say, it's all about the fighters with us. And anybody who's fought on a Fight UK show knows that. They know how well the fighters get looked after. So, you know, that's what it is. I say their safety is sort of obviously paramount.
I'm going to interrupt again. Does that mean that during the undercard at some point you might have alternative fights? You might have sort of, you know, your top 8 in the tournament and then 2 fighting for a spot should somebody get injured?
Yeah, every tournament we've got a couple of alternates anyway, basically for that reason. If somebody gets injured or can't continue, obviously the alternates will get pulled in. If the alternates don't get pulled in throughout the tournament, then them two will fight each other at the end of the night. So they still get, you know, they get a fight regardless. This is what it is. I say so just to cover all bases. So you're not getting halfway through a tournament, somebody's pulled out, and oh fuck, what do you do now? Well, let's pull this guy. You didn't even know he's just lost. It don't work like that. So we'll pull the alternate in to take the place.
Because of course that is the plague of a tournament competition, especially over one night. Is, you know, if somebody gets a nasty cut, is there again? You might have to cut this one out because I'm just interested now. You know, let's say somebody's put on an awesome first fight, been dominant, been excellent, has won a second fight but sustained a cut, and the doctor says you can't fight. Is that the type of, you know? How are you going to be able to look after guys like that? Are they going to get invites back straight away? Are you going to base it on performance as well as result? Yeah,
obviously, you know, like any show, if somebody, regardless, win, lose or draw, if somebody puts on a good show, you're always going to have them back. You know, I've watched fights, people have won fights, people have won lots of fights, and they're fucking boring to watch. And it's that sort of whole, I think we've got people look at records far too closely. I'm not a big fan of looking at records. You know, I know guys with crap records, but they've fought world-class people. I know guys that have never lost a fight, they're 10-0 and they've never fought anybody. So I'd rather sort of look at how they perform, who they've fought. You know, what do they bring to the show? Do they bring excitement, or are they fucking boring and just lie on somebody? Or, you know, it is what it is. It's that sort of whole. It's entertainment. That's what we want to do. That's what we want to bring excitement to the fighters. Nobody wants to fight a boring fighter. Do you know, if you're a fighter, you want to get in and have a ding dong. You don't want to be, you know, pushed against the cage for 3 5-minute rounds. It is what it is. You want to fight somebody that's going to bring a bit of excitement. If you're watching a fight, you want to watch something that's exciting. So win, lose or draw, if people put on a good show, we'll always have them back.
I got to say, I'm excited about seeing it. I think that it's going to propel, certainly amateur MMA to a different, people are going to take it a little more seriously than they do already. I think you're going to have camps fighting to get involved in the event. Look, before we let you go, and this is a tough question, sum up what Fight UK 2014 is going to be like as succinctly as possible, as quickly as possible. If you can give me a sentence that tells me why I want to go and see Fight UK in 2014, can you do it?
Fucking electric.
Awesome. Before we let you go, is there anybody you want to give a shout out to? Anybody you'd like to thank?
Everybody who's involved in Fight UK. There's a lot. There's too many to mention. Obviously, with all the backstage stuff, this, that, the other. Obviously, the main guys: Ali, Dave, Sandeep, all the gyms, all the fighters, and everybody buys tickets and comes and supports Fight UK because they know what it is.
And I do believe you have some of the best officials in the country working at your events. Yeah,
we do. Yeah. That's it goes without saying. It's that all adds to the production of the show. Yeah. It is what if you've got some judges, whoever they may be, referees, whoever they may be. It's sort of it lacks credibility. That's the whole thing. We need it to be credible. So if we've got guys that officiate or referee for top organisations, whether it be the UFC or whoever it may be, that brings credibility to the show, to the decisions, to the outcome of the fights. And at the end of the day, the officials are the guys that they determine what happens at the end of the day. So it's got to be spot on.
That's awesome. I'm going to say one more time, if you're an amateur, you fight, and that's what you want to do, Fight UK, you got to keep an eye on them in 2014. I don't care how much of a suck-ass this sounds. It sounds really exciting, and can you turn down a $2 pot? You good enough to come and take it? Fight UK 2014. Thanks for your time, Ian. Appreciate it.